All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're taking a tour of the most complex, most incredible object in the entire known universe, your brain. Think of this as the user's guide you never got for the hardware that runs your whole life.
And it all starts with this number, 3 pounds. That's it. That's all this powerhouse weighs. For something that creates every single thought, feeling, and memory you'll ever have, it's kind of crazy that it only makes up about 2% of your body weight.
So that's the big question, right? How does this little 3-pound lump of tissue basically create and control your entire reality? How does it take in all this information from the world, figure it out, and tell you what to do? Well, let's find out.
Okay, so our journey starts with the biggest part of the brain, the cerebrum. The easiest way to think about this is like the corporate headquarters for your entire body. This is where the big decisions are made. Now, this headquarters is split right down the middle into two huge divisions, the left and right hemispheres. Your left side, that's your inner analyst. It's all about logic, language, numbers, very by the book. But your right side, that's your inner artist, the creative, intuitive part that's great with faces, music, and big picture ideas. So right at the front of this entire operation, you've got the executive suite. This is the frontal lobe. And if the whole brain is the company, the frontal lobe is, without a doubt, the CEO. And let me tell you, this CEO has a massive job. It's handling all the high-level stuff. Deciding what to have for dinner? That's the frontal lobe. Planning your vacation? Frontal lobe again. And, maybe most importantly, stopping you from saying that thing you probably shouldn't say? Yep, you can thank your frontal lobe for that. It's the part that really makes you, well, you. So what happens when the CEO gets taken out of the picture? The incredible true story of Phineas Gage shows us exactly what. This poor guy was a railroad worker who had an iron rod shoot straight through his frontal lobe. And he survived. But he wasn't the same person at all. He went from being this super responsible guy to someone who was impulsive and rude. It's a really stark lesson in just how crucial this one part of the brain is for our entire personality.
All right, moving back a bit from the CEO's office, we get to the parietal lobe. You can think of this area as the data integration department. It's constantly taking in all the raw sensory info from the world and trying to make sense of it all. And the range of stuff this lobe does is just incredible. It's the reason you feel the warmth of the sun or the cold of an ice cube. But it's also what helps you figure out a 20% tip, know where you are in a room, and even, you can reach into your bag and find your keys just by feeling for them. That's your parietal lobe doing its magic.
Now let's go all the way to the back of the brain. Here we find the occipital lobe. This department is a total specialist. It's got one main job and one job only, vision. Literally everything you see with your eyes gets sent back here to be processed. And tucked away right behind your ears, you've got the temporal lobes. These are kind of like the company's library and communications hub, all rolled into one. They handle sound, understanding language, and, this is a big one, forming and pulling up memories.
And get this, we have some wild proof of how memories are literally stored here. Back in the day, a neurosurgeon named Wilder Penfield was doing brain surgery, and he would gently stimulate the temporal lobes of his awake patients with a small electric current. And people reported these incredibly vivid memories, like full-on flashbacks with sounds and sights. It was the first real proof that our life experiences are physically carved into the brain.
Okay, we've toured the executive floors. Now let's head down to the basement, deep into the core of the brain. We're going to explore the older, more primal systems that drive our emotions and our will to survive.
Welcome to the limbic system. This place is nothing like the logical CEO upstairs. This is the emotional engine room of the brain. It's where our deepest feelings come from. Fear, pleasure, anger, along with our most basic motivations like hunger and desire. So how does this play out? Imagine you see a snake on a hiking trail. Your brain actually has two responses at once. There's the fast way. A signal zips directly to a part called the amygdala, your brain's alarm bell, and you physically jump back before you even consciously know why. At the same exact time, the slow way sends that same signal up to your thinking brain, the cortex, for analysis. The cortex looks closer and goes, oh wait, that's just a stick. Then it tells the amygdala to chill out. It's a brilliant two-track system for survival. Now, a really key player in this whole limbic system is the hippocampus, and we learned just how important it is from the tragic story of patient HM. To stop his terrible epilepsy, surgeons removed his hippocampus. The good news? The seizure stopped. The devastating news? He could never form a new long-term memory again. He knew who he was, he remembered his childhood, but he couldn't tell you what he'd had for breakfast 5 minutes ago. His life was permanently stuck in the present moment.
Okay, for this last part of our tour, we're going to zoom in. I mean, way in. We've seen the big departments and the different lobes, but how do they all actually talk to each other? Let's meet the chemical messengers that make it all happen.
The whole system is built out of these things called neurons. They're the basic building blocks, and you have somewhere around 100 billion of them. 100 billion! All connected together in this massively complex network. They're the wiring that makes the whole thing go.
But here's the coolest part, they don't actually touch. When an electrical pulse travels down one neuron, it gets to the very end and triggers the release of these tiny chemicals called neurotransmitters. These chemicals then float across a tiny gap called a synapse and lock onto the next neuron, passing the message on. It's like this beautiful, super fast relay race happening billions of times every single second in your head.
And these different chemical messengers have a huge impact on how you experience the world. Dopamine, that's your reward chemical. It's what makes you feel good when you accomplish something. Serotonin is all about mood and well-being. It helps you feel calm and happy. Then you have GABA, which is basically the brain's brake pedal, slowing things down to keep you from getting too anxious. As you can see, it's all about balance. Too much or too little of any of these can completely change how you think and feel.
So after seeing all this, the intricate structures, the primal drives, the chemical soup that's constantly sloshing around, it leads to one last pretty mind-blowing question. If your entire reality, everything you see, feel, and think is being built by this 3-pound organ and shaped by a constant cascade of chemicals, how much control do you really have? Something to chew on, right?